Well, my next guest is a Florida resident who has a unique history with storms. Rick Mukhar is a retired captain in the Canadian Armed Forces. He's assisted with the recovery efforts of flooding, tornadoes, and ice storms. He joins us tonight from Zephyr Hills, Florida, which is in between, just for the geography's sake here, it's in between Tampa and Orlando. Rick, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
So I understand that you have yet to evacuate, but can you describe what's going on? We can see a little bit of the window behind you there.
Well, the wind is up. So where I'm located right now, in my home, we're probably about 300 kilometers from the center of the storm. The winds right now are probably about 190 kilometers. It certainly is a Category 4, but we're on the peripheral wind. So we're feeling that. I'm not in a required evacuation zone. That doesn't mean I will not experience some flooding. We have plenty of rivers and streams and, of course, low-lying areas. And that storm surge is mentioned in the previous segment, coming up to 6, 7, possibly maybe even 8 meters. That is a phenomenal height. And you got to appreciate that water is unforgiving. It will knock down walls. And that's where the danger comes in, not just the wind. It's going to come in from that storm surge. And that's where the people that refuse to evacuate for whatever reason, they're going to get themselves in potentially a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, and Katie was just talking about the debris that could come with those winds. In your role with the Canadian Armed Forces, I understand that you have participated in disaster relief efforts from flooding and storm surges before to all kinds of different disasters. How significant, in your opinion, is this hurricane, Helene?
Well, you know, as Governor DeSantis mentioned, we have no control on nature and what it's going to do. One of the things that's unique about this hurricane is not so much its speed in its category, but the size of it. We're talking 300 to 400 miles from left to right of arc of it. So that's a large area, which means it's a very powerful storm. So when we take that area, if we were to take that storm and put it right over Central Florida, Florida would pretty much disappear. And you have to appreciate that Florida, from a state as long as it is, the very southern part of the state, if we were to flip it up, would touch New York. So it is covering a large landmass area. When it hits landfall in Tallahassee, I can certainly appreciate the preparations that the mayor and the governor are trying to do up in that area. If that is the focal point, there's no saying it won't go right or left. We all see the spaghetti models, but certainly that the grave situation what this storm presents with the flooding, the wind damage itself is one thing, but the flooding, the basically a seawall coming at you is a major concern. It's going to knock out infrastructure. It's going to take away power. It's going to block roads for emergency access. Once the first responders are able to get back out, they themselves have to hunker down at some point during this storm. Then their first priority is to get out. They're going to be checking those routes, making sure that lineman crews and stuff can get out and get back to a certain degree of normalcy as quickly as they can. They want to search for people. They want to get people that need medical attention. There are going to be some recoveries going on without question. And it's just, if we compare to Ian a few years ago, this has the potential to be even worse.
Okay, so, we understand that in some parts of the state, they say that the storm surge will be unsurvivable. You're in Zephyr Hills. What are you doing to prepare for this hurricane?
So with our proximity, we're actually pretty lucky because we're sort of between Orlando and Tampa, per se. We're in a nice, good area. Zephyr Hills is fairly high, but we do have some low-lying areas. So our preparations are, of course, cleaning up the yards, cutting the grass, cutting trees and all this stuff, any limbs or branches. We expect that some trees will come down. Do we have fuel? Do we have food? We have stocked up in our house with MREs, or IMPs, as the Canadian military would call the equivalent. We have stocked up with that. We have generators, everything like that. Our vehicles are moved to secure locations so there'll be minimal, if any, damage to them at all. And then, of course, on the neighborhood watch aspect, I have a lot of senior people that live around me. So my function, as I see it in the next few hours, once the storm sort of passes, would be get out, knock on the doors maybe a little bit, say, hey, Barbara's and Brigettas and Jane's and Joe's, are you guys okay? Because a lot of times people, they don't have their medications. Their animals get loose. So maybe a watch team's going to go out and start looking for animals. And you have to appreciate that the sentimental value of everybody's pet is very important and part of the family. Aftermath of this, everything from the floods is going to be contaminated water. There's problems with sewage. You're going to have, of course, the electrical grid will be down for whatever period of time. If roads are blocked, what can we as a community do to assist those in the recovery efforts to clear a road? I'll get out with my chainsaw if I have to and cut it. But right now in Zephyr Hills, we're pretty good. A lot of people have not yet boarded up their windows or anything like that. Most of the building codes in Florida are designed to take this sort of thing on. But, you know, a bigger storm can always come along, right? So if you do every little thing and just what you can do, and then the ultimate order comes down to evacuate, I really caution people about staying in their homes. Get out. Just get out. If you know, the storm's heading north, so head south, or just keep ahead of the storm going north. Get up into Georgia, keep going. You know, hopefully you have enough fuel in your car because some of the infrastructure goes out and the fuel pumps are shut down. All these sort of things like that. So you have to really pre-plan ahead.
And absolutely hope that people heed that warning. Rick, appreciate your time tonight. That is Rick Morcar in Zephyr Hills, Florida. Well, my next guest was told to evacuate his city because of the hurricane. He has decided to stay anyways. Brandon Bradley is the owner of Bradley's Custom Gutters. He's riding out the storm in his Tallahassee warehouse. Brandon, thanks for taking the time. Why have you not left yet?
Our business offers emergency responses after the storm. So we go in as fast as we can after, and we begin tarping roofs and moving debris and all that stuff. My immediate family and my family we got them out of here, but I have to stay behind to work the storm, right? To provide our services for the community.
Sure, and that is admirable, but are you worried? Is your family worried about you staying back?
You know, we were kind of talking about it earlier, and do I feel like I'm going to die? No, I don't. Do I feel like things are going to get really bad around here? Yes. Yeah, we're pretty worried about it, to be honest. We've been through quite a few hurricanes, but as it's said time and time again, this is the worst hurricane this area has pretty much ever seen. So definitely.
What preparations are you undertaking so that you are going to be safe where you are right now?
So in this our warehouse it's a block warehouse. The roof and stuff is steel, so I'm in a safe location. And then just from there, you know, just the supplies, right? So staying hydrated and the medicines and all that stuff. That's, you know, kind of it on that. You know, I think the structure around you is really, really important. You can deal without a lot of things, but if you're blowing around in the wind, you're not going to make it. So you have to have a strong structure. That's what I,
So
recommend.
You're sticking around to help the community. You shared a Facebook video that shows your van filled with roofing materials. Explain what those materials are and what they're going to be used for.
Yep. So we in that video we had a few rolls of our roofing dry-in. We had some tarps, our ladders, some axes, and I don't know if you can see it on the video, but axes, chainsaws, emergency kits. So first aid, flares, all that good stuff. And we would use those products to cut limbs off of people's homes and help them get into their home, and also help dry in their home afterwards, because that's the biggest thing, is to get the trees off and dry the home in, right? And then we can that gives you a little breathing room until you can figure out what to do next. So
I know that you're inside right now, but tell me a little bit about the scene outside and what this community looks like right now. Have most people left, or are there others sticking around like you?
There's most of the people that I've seen that are still around they're in my similar situation. So they're either tree services, they're roofers, or contractors, right? A lot of the general public they have left, right? So Tallahassee, it looks like a kind of a ghost town right now compared to a normal Thursday, Wednesday. I forget what day it is.
It's Thursday.
Yeah, it's Thursday. Get a little hectic there. But yeah, so Tallahassee and also the surrounding areas around the water, right? So you may hear like St. Mark's, Florida come up, the Panacea, Florida area, Keaton Beach, which is just below Perry. We were out and about in the community today, kind of helping people with their last minute preparations. And it is, people have left, right? And before, we've had quite a few, or two storms and over the last, 16, 18 months or so, and not as many people left as this one. It is. You can tell people are really getting the picture.
Yeah, and you know, you told me about, you know, preparations in terms of where you are. You're in a pretty secure building, you say, hopefully. What about food, water, etc.? Have you stocked up on that? Do you have enough of that?
Yes. So luckily, well, I guess luckily and not luckily, we live in Florida. So, you know, our crews are in the heat every day. So we buy water by the pallets. So our warehouse has a few pallets of water in it, and we kind of keep that on hand pretty much all the time. So water is always secured. And then, you know, just basic food stuff, you know, just stuff that you can kind of heat up and that kind of thing, run the generator. So, yeah, so food, protein snacks, stuff that you can eat on the go. Because, you know, as soon as the storm passes, there's not going to be restaurants open. There's not going to be places to get things to eat or hot meals, unless, you know, a few food trailers or something might be open. But you really have to be prepared to keep that stuff on hand because you don't know when it's going to come, when you're going to get an opportunity to get a good hot meal again. So,
yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck, Brandon. And do us a favor, check in with us tomorrow, if you would, so we can get an update. That is Brandon Bradley, who is the owner of Bradley's Custom Gutters, who's staying in that community to help the community with the aftermath of this in Tallahassee, Florida.